Thank you so much for joining me today, Jude and Jennifer. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks, Brian.
Fantastic. Thank you.
We are so excited for Man of La Mancha did I say that right? La Mancha?
You
Yes.
got
Okay,
it.
cool. We're so excited for this to come to Birmingham Village Players. You're currently in the rehearsal process as it's still a few weeks until it's opening night. Jude, how's that process kind of going so far?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, it's been it's a very tough experience, of course, to go through any rehearsal process. But this one, it's beautiful, beautiful. The people that I'm working with are delightful. And I've worked with many of these people before, and they're creating a wonderful experience. It's not always about the show you're doing. Sometimes it's the people you're doing it with. And really, what a delight to be working with these people. Right. I've worked with Jennifer before. Years and years and years ago. So I'm thrilled to be working with her again.
Ditto, Jude.
Jennifer, how is it going for you? You're currently about 3 weeks out from the show. I'm sure you're super excited for it to come, but like how's that rehearsal going for you?
Oh my goodness, we're so excited. Just recently, we're starting to run the show in its entirety. So there's some tricky spots here and there, and I'm quickly learning the amount of physicality that is needed to get through an entire run. We're going to be tired at the end. But the directors are doing a great job. That's Sue Checkaway, Roberta Campion, and then it's assistant directed by Dan D'Agostino. And like Jude said, the cast is just stellar. Everybody wants to put their all into everything. And I think it's a fun rehearsal process, although tiring.
I mean, ultimately, if it's fun, that's the goal here, because you want to have fun, you want to put on a great show for people, but like the better the energy on stage, the better it is for the audience that's there as well.
Right.
So with this show, how familiar were you with it before being cast in it? And Jude, I'm gonna start with you. Were you familiar with the show before you got the role?
Oh, yes, I was very familiar. I first started listening to it when I was very young, the Richard Kiley records, and then watching the movie Man of La Mancha with Peter O'Toole. And I had the records when I was in college, and I tell you, I listened to them over and over and over again. And especially at times when I just needed some motivation, or, if I wasn't really feeling great, really the words resonated with me. And then I remember the first time I was in Man of La Mancha was, I think, 2004, which Jennifer happened to also be in, and she was playing Aldonza then. And somebody told me there was a production going on in Man of La Mancha, and it was at Birmingham. I had no idea when it was, but it turned out it was that night. I had just gotten my dinner made, and I was eating it, and I saw auditions had just started. I threw my dinner in the fridge and went there starving and showed up late, but they were very welcoming. I think Brian Conroy was the first person I saw. It was a delight to meet him. And they welcomed me into the cast as a muleteer. So I'd played a muleteer then, and then later on, several years later at St. Dunstan's. So I've been very fortunate to have been in the show a couple times.
That's incredible. You have quite a history with it.
Yes.
And Jennifer, it sounds like you also have a history with the show, and you've been in it before.
I have been in it before. Actually, this will be the third time that I've played the role. So I consider myself very blessed and very privileged to be able to portray Aldonza again. The last time was 2004 at Birmingham Village Players, and that's where I met Jude. And then right before that, I want to say 3-4 months prior, I also played the role down at Rosedale Park Players, like at 8 Mile and Southfield area. And just the music speaks for itself. I think everybody is familiar with a few of the songs from the show, one in particular. But I've been very familiar with the script, very familiar with the music, and it's like Jude said, it's so inspiring to listen to when you need a little uplift. So very familiar with the show, and looking forward to portraying it again.
So there's definitely something about this show that keeps bringing the two of you back. It sounds, you mentioned about it being inspiring. You said about the music. Is that like Jude, what for you is that piece that just keeps pulling you back to being in this show?
Well, I tell you, probably the most famous song from the show would be "The Impossible Dream," and the lyrics in there, the words are resonating. And even when you're not feeling great, to dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to try when your arms are too weary, to run where the brave dare not go. I mean, to march into hell for a heavenly cause. It's these lyrics, and when you're not feeling great, kind of thinking them over and over, and thinking that, sometimes, you have this quest, you have ideas of where you want to be in life or what you want to do. And sometimes things don't work out quite the way you want them to. But sometimes it's not always about the quest. It's about the journey to the quest. And, even Aldonza, who Jennifer's playing, questions, why do you do these things? Why are you doing it? Because it seems impossible to her. There's this elderly man who looks ridiculous. He's out of his time, and he's fighting imaginary dragons and armies and knights and wizards. His whole thing is that it doesn't matter whether he wins or loses, as long as he follows the quest. And that's how I live my life a bit, is following the quest. And, and even going in and audition for the show, when I go in and audition for a show, I'm not doing it because I necessarily am going to get the role. It's because I've gone through the process of learning what I need to do and all the steps that I need to do. And whether or not I actually get to do what I want to do, I'm still a little bit stronger for having gone through the journey.
That's an absolutely beautiful answer. um, so Jennifer, what is kind of the story of this musical? And then we've mentioned who you're playing, but like, who is your character to you?
Oh, my character. So her name is Aldonza. And let me tell you a brief outline of the show. Basically,
Yeah.
Jude's character and his sidekick are thrown into a prison. And to obtain all of his items back from the prisoners, he opts to put on a show. So this is, in essential, a show within a show, done in a dungeon with prisoners laying around and watching. And the prisoners take on the role of the characters in his story. And by the
wow.
end, a lot of those prisoners, I would say all of the prisoners, are transformed. So now
Yeah.
Aldonza is a prisoner to begin with. And she's a kitchen scullion. How about she's been around? Is that a good way to put it, Jude?
She's been around. I think that's a
She's been
good way to
around a
put
little bit. So,
it. A little
and
bit tamed by the world.
she's filthy. She's, with all of these guys. And Jude's character, Don Quixote, when he's presenting the play, just sees her as this glorious, highborn lady. And she has never been treated like that, ever. And she thinks he's nuts, basically. By the end and the journey that they both go on, and him constantly talking to her in this elevated stance that she has never experienced before, she begins believing, and he calls her Dulcinea, which is his name for her, and she ends up believing that she is indeed that Dulcinea by the end of the show.
I mean, that's such a cool journey. And,
Yes.
Jude, you're kind of stepping into a role that is well known. Like I haven't read the book, but I've heard of the book. We talked about it in English class and stuff like that. What is it like to kind of step into those shoes?
It's fantastic. I can't even believe that I get a chance to do it. I've had some good opportunities to play some roles. Actually, one of the roles I had was previous time I was at Village was Shakespeare and Shakespeare in Love. Coincidentally, I found out that Shakespeare, of course, lived at the same time as Cervantes, who wrote Don Quixote. Apparently, I just found out they died on the same day. I didn't even know that.
Oh
There was some
wow.
Berta Campion, who's one of the directors, had mentioned yesterday at rehearsal. So there's definitely some interesting things there to have two literary geniuses, alive at the same time. But I can't even tell you how, I mean, I fully express how wonderful it is and how important it is to be able to portray this, and not just for myself, but I have to be able to communicate that to the audience, and so that it's not about me necessarily, to be able to communicate to what beauty that one can get from this author, and what so that people can understand, and not what I want them to understand necessarily, what they want to understand, what they can understand. So I I'm just thrilled. It's very important, and I'll work as hard as I can to portray that and communicate that the best I can.
So on the surface, it sounds like your character's kind of trying to get these things back, but like, what is his emotional journey through this show? How does he kind of grow?
Oh, it's an interesting thing. When Cervantes first enters the prison, he is he's a failed author. He's a failed tax collector. He's a failed actor. And he's put into prison because he makes an assessment against the church. The Inquisition says no, and they're going to put him on trial. And so he's fighting, but he's not just fighting for his life. He has a partially written manuscript with all his stuff that he has brought into the prison, he and his servant. The prisoners are taking everything he has. And he says, take anything but that, his unfinished manuscript. And so he's fighting for this because he doesn't want them to burn it for heat or whatever it is that they're going to burn it for. And so his journey is he has to somehow communicate to these people that he can't relate to, that in some way he can relate to them, and helps them see, how, that help him believe that there are people that can understand what his vision is, who can see what's going on inside of him. Because, right now, the world doesn't see. He's in prison right now, and now these prisoners are going to take all his things. So how can he communicate them to help them understand that he is very similar to this mad knight that he's writing? So, in a sense, his journey is fighting for his imaginary knight, and hopefully just make the world just a little bit better for not just the broader world, but for the little prison, just in that little place. Just make it a little bit better. And if he can make it a little bit better for them, then he'll, if he dies the next day, he'll feel he had accomplished something small in the world.
And it sounds like, Jennifer, with your character, he does accomplish that. He does make it better, like make her feel better.
Oh,
and
he
kind of
does.
enlighten her.
He absolutely does. And, throughout the journey of, so Jude is playing a character who's playing a character who's playing a character. So
Yeah.
Miguel de Cervantes enters the prison, and then he turns into Alonso Quijana, who is playing Don Quixote. So Jude has his work cut out for him. I only get to do 2. He has to do 3. But
Yeah.
throughout that journey, as his goodness, as his positivity unfolds, he just speaks so highly and sees the good in so many things that, you wish people could see that on a daily, day-to-day basis, because the world obviously is going through many things right now. But he helps those prisoners and the characters within the play just realize what their underlying goodness is and what their purpose is and why they're here, just, to reach that unreachable star. And yeah, the quest is the underlying drive throughout the entire thing.
What is it like? And Jennifer, I'm gonna start with you on this one. But like,
Sure.
you're doing frame story here. Is it difficult as an actor to jump into a frame story that's having like multiple layers like that?
I find it is difficult, but I find it so rewarding. Again, there's a quest to it. So so me as an actor, if I can get my emotions and what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling across to the audience, then I've been successful. And I'm going to speak for Jude because I think he's in the same boat. That feeling of accomplishment when the audience gets it after all that hard work that you put in, it just makes all the blood, sweat, and tears really worth it.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, it's difficult, but it is so rewarding in the end.
And Jude, sounds like you'd agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you, it's not always about what we think is going to be able to communicate to the audience. So we have a huge cast of people behind the scenes helping us out. There's people who we've worked with in the past, and there are people who are directing on the show. There's Sue Checkaway. There's Roberta Campion. There's Dan D'Agostino. There's costumers. There's Michael costuming, and then there's prop people. Now these people communicate to us to help us understand how we can help shape it, how we can help communicate it. Because it doesn't matter what I do. If I say something up on stage, and I think I might be communicating thing appropriately, if it's not playing to the audience, it means absolutely nothing. And I could feel
True.
whatever I want to feel on stage. And if the audience doesn't feel it that way or doesn't see it, we may, be spinning our wheels. So, we're relying a lot on Sue and Roberta and Diana and all the other people. And there's Mark who's backstage, he's stage managing, Mark Carley, to kind of support us along the way and help us so that we can communicate it and help us shape it. So, it is a huge challenge. But familiarity with the script and listening to our directors and our support, the people supporting us and our other cast members is helping us shape that. And also playing after, like playing off of the people who we're working with will help shape that, because I could do the same show with a completely different group of people and get
Mhm.
different results.
Okay.
So we're relying a lot on the muleteers and on the innkeeper and his wife, and or we have a couple of the prisoners play the horse and the mule along the way. So that will help shape and define how we do this too.
You've both mentioned that you have two directors, which is, I think, a very unique perspective, because a lot of shows that I've worked with, it's been like one director kind of with their vision. How do you think that helps to enhance the story of this show?
That's a really cool question, because I think this might have been one of the first times I've ever worked with two directors, and I tell you, they bring fascinating and unique perspectives, and different strengths, whether it be acting or dancing and choreography type things, and they take different scenes, and different directors will focus on different scenes as the main person blocking or directing that scene, and then the other director will see it, and they'll add different inputs during along the way. So I find they complement each other quite well. Myself, I'm in shock and awe at how well that everybody works together on this.
I agree. And even though that Jude and I have done the show before, I find that we're getting more input and different approaches, and think about that line a little bit differently to help add to the interpretation of the show for the audience. Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful. So we have actually two directors, and then we have an assistant director as well. But having all of that support behind us and that audience every night when we're rehearsing, that helps us bring the message of the play across to the audience.
Absolutely. And it helps that they're prepared when they come in. They've already
Right.
discussed a lot of issues in advance and all have done a lot of planning. They have everything written down, and it's, our responsibility to listen to what they say and being able to try to communicate it. And if we're not doing it quite the way they want, they communicate to help us adjust in the direction they need it to go.
And what I love about that dynamic too, is that you do get a more collaborative approach. People can get very fixated on when they're kind of like it's their way and they can't quite see past it. But like this is not only collaborative with all the actors and all the people who are helping, but you have two directors there that are kind of like, I see it this way, I see it this way. Let's see what works best for the stage,
Hmm.
which I know that the
Mhm.
size of the stage, the location of the stage, the way things go, that can all impact the scene. And to have somebody to kind of feel that out with you is probably fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So this show won a Tony Award for Best Musical back in the day. It won for Best Score. Um, Jennifer, how do you feel like the music enhances the story?
Oh my goodness. This music is more like, so I've done a lot of musicals and they're very showy. This music is more like an experience. Um, it emotes, it takes so much emotion from each character and portrays it to the audience, where you really get to know what that character is thinking and feeling. And the score is just stunning. The orchestration, and Lori's doing a great job being our music director. And
Yeah.
this music, it's just more of an experience rather than, the big showy show tunes, like I'm thinking Mame or Hello Dolly, or where it's
Sure.
That's a good way of
Guys and
putting it.
Dolls, which they have great music in it. But this is almost like an unveiling and like peeling of an onion, getting at the character and what they're thinking and what they're feeling. There's some great music in this show.
It's beautiful that you can dive right into, you get a deeper look into who these characters are.
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly.
Jude,
But
what's that like for you?
well, there are also some comedic moments, I think, and I've listened to this
Yes.
music a lot. As a matter of fact, I'll never be able to play Eldon's, I'll tell you that much, but I
Are you
love her.
sure?
I love your songs. I mean, I can listen to the Aldonza song over and over and over. It breaks my heart. But it's so intense. It's one of the more intense songs I've ever heard in any musical theater. Uh, and so, but there's also some funny moments. You have the barber, for example, who comes on and he's wearing his shaving base, and Don Quixote is like, no, that's a golden helmet, and I need that. And so dynamics of people who he has a vision of the world, what he believes is right and can make better, but then other people are not going to see what he sees, and the audience only sees it through the eyes through what's being communicated through Quixote and Cervantes. And so how do these two worlds clash? And so, but there's also the family so Don
Mm.
Quixote, who is he's actually a country gentleman. That's one of the three characters. He Alonso Quijana's family is making discussions. What do we do about the night? And they have this entire scene about this chess match, basically, that they're trying to capture the night, and then they sing this song. And they're making a confession to the bishop. Another just wonderful song where the housekeeper who's worried about Quixote being interested in her, and his niece who's like, wait a minute, I'm getting married soon. What is my fiance going to think? And then the bishop, who's like this balance in between. The bishop is like, he's like, well, he might be crazy, but maybe his world's a lot better than everybody else who lives in this horrible world. People are starving. There's hunger, there's pain out there, but he seems happier than everybody. So, but there's those songs that kind of add a little bit of entertainment, along with those intense songs, "Impossible Dream" and the Aldonza song, and of course, "I Don Quixote" in the beginning is a
Right.
fabulous number. Well, kind of energize the audience in the show.
You're right with the comedy aspect too, June. And Jude's sidekick, Sancho
Uh,
Panza,
oh
um,
yeah, yeah,
is
absolutely.
played by Michael Gravami. I mean, I think he's got the bit role of the show. I mean, with his songs and everything, it's a lot of fun.
Yes, he is supporting along the way. He's got some great numbers and some wonderful comedic moments too.
With that being said, with the music, Jude, what's your favorite to perform, but also what's your favorite to hear? Like maybe you're not in that number, but you just every night you just can't wait for it to come across.
I'll be honest, my favorite number to listen to is the Aldonza number. After
Okay.
he's been through a lot. I mean, this is a tough show too. There are some mature audience moments where she goes through a lot, and and she's going through a lot of pain, and Quixote is being very kind to her, and he's wanting to go after the people who caused her pain and hurt her, and she is just going into him. In fact, I almost want to tear up talking about it. It's so intense that she is going in and she's laying into this man who, and the entire time he is completely kind to her. He's like, you're still wonderful. It doesn't matter what you went through. It's not what's out on the outside. I know who you really are. I see your heart, and I see you through my heart. And so he's using his kindness to try to break through this wall and this hurt and this pain. And I could listen to that over and over again, but it's so intense. I would say that is. I love all the other ones. I listen to them over and over again, but and also and I don't want to spoil anything, but the end sequence when
Mm.
Aldonza is kind of trying to reach out to this man who is no longer the man that she got to know. So
Right.
it's those two, that to the end is just it's for me is the best, some of the best parts of the show. But I could listen to any of it. I love Sancho's songs, the barber, there's the Duke who sings a number, and the bishop and niece and housekeeper. I love them all, but those are the moments that kind of really reach into my and create some even more emotion.
Jennifer, how about for you?
Okay, so twofold here. I think my favorite one to perform is the Aldonza song, where she is just attacking Quixote verbally.
It's a
And this happens after a very violent scene, and she's really hurt. And she just pours her heart out, and it is just exhausting. But yet so rewarding at the same time. And the words, I mean, I guess I could say the first words. I was spawned in a ditch by a mother who left me there. And it goes on from there. So it's really deep and gritty. But then I think my favorite one to listen to for a couple of reasons. Um, The Impossible Dream. One, because that is where, well, it is the signature song of the
I,
show.
it is
Jude,
fun to
oh,
tell you. It is
Jude is
fun.
doing a great job singing it, and
Thank
that
you.
is the song that is the point in the show where
Mm,
Aldonza realizes maybe she's more, maybe she is a little bit of a Dulcinea,
mhm.
and just just think, I mean, I've got goosebumps, I'm tearing.
Yeah.
So I
Uh,
think that's my favorite to listen to, and the message is just so powerful, and, uh, it I think that's my favorite to listen to.
those lyrics are just fabulous. I mean, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
agreed.
I was gonna, I
Love
was
it.
gonna say when I was researching for this interview, that's the song that kept coming up. That's the
Mhm.
Yes,
like that is the song
It's
that
the
it's known
song.
for.
It is. It
it is
is.
the song. Yeah, usually that Aldonza song doesn't pop up.
No,
It
that
is
is that.
powerful, though.
I tell you, I mean, like I said, I could listen to it over and over again, the lyrics to it, and it is fun to sing. It is, definitely, I learning that years ago and having those words in my head years have changed my life. So
Right.
So when we're looking at the themes of this, what themes from the show resonate the most with you, Jude? And I'm gonna start with you. What themes do you really stand out to you as you're performing this?
I think there's a line, and it's not a common line, that you know uh, appearance is not reality, and changing the world through being who you are on the inside, and it kind of goes so. Years ago, I had the opportunity. I loved collecting wood statues, for example. And so I decided one day I wanted to carve one, and I had, in particular, Don Quixote statues. And so I was fascinated by the concept of, wood. One person might see this as a block of wood, but somebody else might see this as a statue. And so I proceeded to carve it, and it turned out really well, really well. But that's how I see many of the characters in the play, even Aldonza's character, and one person sees Aldonza maybe as this block of wood or a piece of scrap, scrap wood to be thrown away. But Quixote sees something more beautiful inside, and even it might take work. It's like the quest, the journey, and the goal, of course, would be achieve that goals. And he wants to love, and I don't know specifically whether Quixote never found the character. Quixote never found love, or Alonso Quijana never found love, and he finally decided that he wanted to go out and find love, and his vision of it was this beautiful person he had in his head, and he associated that with Aldonza, and somehow he was able to, through his work, maybe help her a little bit and realize that statue within this piece of scrap wood that somebody might see. So that is the theme that I'm focused. One of the themes that's been kind of popping up lately for me. So thanks for asking that. It's a good question.
Jennifer, how about for you? What themes from Man of La Mancha has really been speaking to you?
So there's two things, and I can tell you a little backstory after I kind of tell you the theme that's registering with me. Hope, and then believing in oneself, even when you may not think that you're capable. And oh, I'm going to get teary. This is bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm going to bring up, Jude? So 3 years ago tomorrow, my husband passed away. And prior to that, my mother passed away. And recently, I've lost some really, really good close friends. And it's amazing, thinking back is when I have played Aldonza the first two times to now. You're strong and you have hope and you believe in yourself because you have to. And I think that's a very strong underlying theme throughout this. And it's interesting that Quixote believes in people before they actually believe in themselves. He's like the catalyst behind it,
Mm.
driving that. So believing in oneself, even when you don't think there's if you don't think there's any hope, and then just that theme of hope throughout the entire show. It's just so uplifting. Those are my
Love it.
favorites.
Both beautiful answers, and I think that kind of showcases the reason that people should go and see this show, because it's going to be impactful and it's going to be beautiful. There's a lot to enjoy for it.
Absolutely. We hope a lot of people come out. Like Jude said, it's for mature audiences. Don't bring the kids, please. No.
Well, with that, Jude and Jennifer, thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate talking with the two of you, and we are so excited to see this show when it arrives.
Thank you. It's been a delight.
Thanks so much, Brian, for having us, and hope to see you in September at Village Players of Birmingham.
September
Absolutely. Man of La Mancha arrives at Birmingham Village Players September 12th and runs through the 28th. So get your tickets now, and we'll see you at the show.